Put your phones away. That was fun. Thank you. You know, it's funny when you hear your name in a song, you get all puffy, like. Very fun. Good morning. I'm glad you're here. The talk today is wrapping up a series this month about creativity and aligning creativity with your core values. And now we invite you to take action. Take action. And that means that we're moving into June. So whatever you've been thinking about, the time is now. Time to take action. And that might stir in you a little bit of butterfly feeling, but that's God's juice. So it's just propelling you to take the time to leap into action. The acronym they use for LEAP, the author of this particular series of messages, she wrote that, hers was, the acronym she found was one is Life Enhancement Association for People. So, and I thought, where do I go with that? Boring. And then another one, she said, let everything, notice how I can read it boring. So that's, let everything actively progress. Okay. Or a life empowerment action plan, getting better. So these are right up your alley, Cher. You love to do these kinds of things. So I started going, well, what does it mean to me? And so I started playing. Now these are really cool, so you might want to get your notebook out because mine are cool. Listening to every available prompt, leaning into the energy of an amazing presence. Law engages the action of presence. That was in honor of Mary. Mine is love involves the action of presence. And then liberating every available possibility. So, they're kind of fun when you look at words and take them apart and create meaning from them. So actually, if you think about the idea of leaping into action, I had this idea in my vision that every time I used the word leap, I was going to have Damien leap across the stage. To kind of make, I know, he's such a beautiful dancer, and I thought, well, that could happen, but if you want to, every now and again, just come but run through and leap. That'll wake him up. And if I don't wake him up, I'll go back to one is Life Enhancement Association for People. So, anyway, the idea though is to move into creativity, to no longer stay stagnant. Confucius is famous for saying, this, it came from him, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And Mary Matamorsey, I remember her giving a lecture, and she talked about potentiality and possibility, and she would just move like, sometimes we think we have to just make major change, but she would just shift it a few degrees, but then when you follow the axis of that line, you end up way over here versus, out in this field over in this direction. And those were important messages for us to realize that we have a journey that we're on. And you've heard sometimes the first step is the hardest, and it is because we're usually swallowed up by the belief patterns that lie deep in our subconscious. And we speak of that a lot in our teaching. That's why this is called the philosophy of the science of mind. Mind being the one mind, the great mind, all that there is. But within that is the subconscious and the parts of us that laid down a belief system, innocent as we were, born free, born pure in those moments. And then we had lesson plans dictated to us by our upbringing, which was inspired by our parents' upbringing, by the teachers that we had, by the kind of schools that we went to, by our extended family. All of these started to imprint deep, deep, deep into our subconscious. And oftentimes, the invitation that we offer here in every single class, please explore that. Mary's class with writing will help you tap into some of those things. It will ask you to start to channel right and not to control your writing, but to watch what emerges, prompted by a question, and then amazing revelations appear before you, things you might have never thought of before. Each one of these teachers are inviting you to look at your life in a whole brand new way. And I'm sure in the parenting class as well, we had some things that we need to get, done with. In our school upbringing, here's a pattern I had. How many of you had this? I was telling this to somebody the other day, and I might blush when I tell you, but if I had to go to the bathroom, I wrote 1 for if I had to potty, 2 if it was something else. And I thought, whose business is that? I remember thinking that as a kid. And I was like, how embarrassing, I think it's a 2, and the teacher saying, then hold it if it's a 2. And I'm thinking, say what? It's a 2. And so then you start lying, it's a 1. And so I'm thinking, these are imprinted deep in us. And so now it's like, shyness to have to go to the bathroom in a public place. What's that all about? Is it true anymore? Do I need to tell you? So, think about those things. That's sort of a silly one, but I'm thinking, oh my God, there it is. And some people didn't have that experience, and you're probably going, well, that's just weird. That's just a sick, weird teacher. In gym class, did you really shower? Are you wet? You had to hold your towel way out here and just be naked and wet in front of the teacher. Why? Can't they believe you that you don't want to get wet? Silly things like this, right? Am I the only one? I'm moving on. So we in the first talk, I expressed a little bit about some of those imprints, and some of them come out of well-meaning parenting, but they stuck with us, and they start to inhibit us later on in life. We're afraid to really know how to ask for what we really want. So sometimes, yes, the first step is the hardest. There is a quote from Oswald Chambers. He says, dreaming about a thing in order to do it properly is right. So we've been doing visioning. You feel things stir inside of you. You might have a creative idea for your home, for your yard, or for an idea to offer a class, or like Sherry Wyndham with all the painting classes that she does, this vision. And then dreaming about it's great. But when that dreaming needs to stop is when we should be doing it, okay? If we're not doing it and we're still dreaming, if Shari just kept saying, yeah, that would be a great idea, think of how many people have been blessed by the awakening to the watercolors. It's been a very inspiring class. In fact, I have to confess, I told a lie to somebody last week, because years ago, probably 30 years ago, I was the watercolor person. I don't know a thing about it, but I was going to be it. So I got the paints, the easel, the paper, all the stuff. And then I thought, it's not happening because I was working so much. So I thought I brought my easel here. And there was a health practitioner last week that was saying, I think that's my easel. And I said, no, that's mine. And then Charlie and I were looking for a flag, and they're in my closet at home, not a flag, but the easel. So I'm thinking, I'm just going to tell her that I found hers. So I started watching these seeds of like, how do I get out of this one? And, it's like own up. So we have these moments, right, that we're unskillful, but we move forward. We're honest with our world, and we say, I did this or I did that, but I'm moving forward. I have this vision. And I know that God's got my back, because I'm in this teaching, and I know that God is and I am one with that knowing. And in that knowing, I am a powerful person. And so when we allow that to operate through us, and to allow that to be our lead as we leap into what we want, we recognize maybe there is no perfect time to start, but we don't want to wait anymore. Because there was I think it was Napoleon Hill said, there is no perfect time. There is no perfect time. Don't wait. The time will never be just right. It won't be. So often I am so strong and powerful right before I go to sleep because the next day is when I'm going to start my no sugar diet, my exercise, drink my water, meditate at 4, all these things the next day. I'm so powerful at night. But then something happens called sleep, and I wake up and I allow myself to fall into the old grooves. Yeah, I meant I was going to start June 1st. I didn't mean today. We do this game with ourselves. So dream all you want, but now take action. Take action, because there's never going to be that perfect time if you keep waiting. The time for action is right now. In a lot of the work of visioning and putting setting your vibration to a certain speed in order to attract what you want to do is a philosophy that walks through many of the teachings. And so this idea is to set that vibration. You've let it percolate long enough. It's ripe, it's ready. And with that is a magnetic pull that the universe says yes to you. And you pull that energy to you and you express that energy. You become that. That's why in so many of the building of your self-esteem and the Live Your Dream workshops, have people actually stand up, close their eyes, and be what they want to be. And I remember when we had a speaker here one time, and I was watching the room, and some people were skiing. Oh, they were so good. Others were doing some ballet. Lots of people were leaping. It's just this idea of being that and setting your vibration to that. That's what the Olympians do. Those are the people that make a difference in the world do. They dream it long enough until they're vibrating at a higher level, at a frequency that the universe says, yes, act on this now. You are empowered. You are the one. You are the one chosen. You allow that consciousness to attract exactly what you want, and then you take action to make it happen. So there's some blocks to that, and I'll just briefly mention some of the blocks that can happen is our ignorance and our unwillingness to question what we really want or ask for what we really want. And this teaching demands that you ask the questions, that you take spiritual accountability for who you are. Repeatedly, repeatedly, repeatedly ask for what you want. Don't assume any of us here know what you want. We work so hard in our little committees saying, this would be a cool class. Oh my God, this is so cool. Nobody signs up. And you're going, well, I thought it was cool. And you did, and the benefit was for the person that was inspired to present it. But we want us all to be a part of that. We want to grow together. So that's why we offer all these fun things in the summer to inspire you. So we're not assuming that we know what you want, but we know eclectically what a lot of people are desiring: better parenting, journaling skills, better partnerships, get over their grief, clear the clutter. These are some things that we hear stirring around in society, so we have offered opportunities for you to grow. And so in this place of a barrier to asking for what we want and this ignorance, recently I was gifted an opportunity to listen to Clarissa Pinkola Estes on her series of Warming the Stone Child. And she mentioned the archetype of the abandoned child. And I was reading that going, I was loved. I don't think I was abandoned. But then she pointed to the collapsing, where if somebody's going to take some of my power, because they're doing it to me, right? If I allow my power to trickle away because of the actions of someone who I think is stronger than me, I collapse. I literally collapse. My empowerment goes whoop, and I feel small and frightened. And so I looked at that, collapsing into my smaller self. Why do I allow that? There is a call. There was a call in this center. There was a call in this center when Andrea left. And there was a whisper inside of me, why don't you go for it? And no. I wept when we chose the first minister. I was so disappointed in myself because I couldn't say yes. And then it happened again. Why didn't you go for it? No, they want a man. I assumed, well, you guys did. Survey says, man. So I cried again. I disappear. I collapse. So then an opportunity arises again, right? I say to Mary, I think I'm going to do it. What's that? And then the vote happens, and I kept thinking, they're going to stand up and say, we want a man. And I'm going, I have a call. Promptings, power. Yes, I still collapse. But what gives me power is the Spirit that knows. What gives me power are my friends that know me, my practitioner class, my practitioner friends, my ministers, Mary, Charlie, my friends. They know me, and they say, you can do this. And they lift me up. They lift me up. You have that too. The moment you have any doubt, you turn the corner, somebody's going to be lifting you up and say yes. Say yes. Because some of those small ways that I have developed in collapsing into myself is because of the way I was brought up. Don't think too highly of yourself. You get conceited. How many had that one? Don't think you're cute. You're not. And it's like, whoa, I'm not. Because I had big teeth and big ears, and so I think, I'm not, am I? I thought I might have been. And so there's all these ways, untruths, buried down deep. And there is all those beliefs, what do? They limit us. They keep us from living our full, true self. And at times we feel like we're going to be stupid or look powerless or humiliated. Might? Oh well, move on. Sometimes we just have low self-esteem issues, and so what do? You go to class, you go to therapy, you go and you sort through that. You dig down deep. You don't get satisfied with just saying, oh well, I'm not good enough. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Every single person is. And then maybe you buy into the idea of, I've got so much pride, I can't expose my fear. I don't want people to know I'm going number 2. It's like all of these things, it's like, where do those all come from? And it's time to be done with it. Because the question here, or the invitation here, it's not a question, it's an invitation to you, is to ask, know what you want. Believe you're worthy to receive it, believe you can get it, be passionate about it, take action even in the face of your fear, learn from your experiences, and be persistent. So, being positive, you begin to find those grooves. You start to develop those grooves inside of your neurons in your brain that make you believe in yourself. That's how God divined this beautiful instrument of ours. So you ask and you expect. You ask and you expect to get it. It's the old person that wants to win the lottery but never buys a ticket. So irritating. I really want, to win. And they don't buy. They don't buy into it. So it's the same story for you. So allow yourself to spend time in time of thoughts of failure when you leap into action. What's the best that can happen? Well, how cool is that? What is the best that can happen? And start letting that be your self-talk. If fear comes up, turn to it. Hello, my friend. You're wise. What are you trying to show me here? Because I'm not stopping. But I need to learn from you, my friend, the fear. Go for it. Go for what you want anyway. Don't give up your power. Don't collapse. Just keep doing it. And you want to feel that you're giving yourself the permission to learn and to ask questions on your journey. to reframe what has been. And there's a way of how to ask. So listen to these. This is from Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen. There's wrong and right ways. So here's a way that's not quite accurate. I want a raise. Better? I'd like a raise of $500 a month. Pretty clear, huh? We had prosperity classes here before, and we were asked, how much do you want to be? What's your dream? How big do you want to be? Could I say 250,000? And you know what? That year between Charlie and I, we did. I worked my butt off. I forgot that part because I was on call for, recovery room, and you get time and a half when you're called in. So I didn't want $250,000 that bad. So I moved to another job. But how about this? I want, if you were telling somebody, I want you to dress more hip. Well, what about if you said it, I want you to buy those new long skirts everyone's wearing and wear them with your boots. Yeah, that's better received, right? There's not going to be the big fight. I want to spend some time with you this weekend. That's not, we hear that a lot, but what is a beautiful way to say that? I want to go out to dinner and a movie with you. Right? You too? I want to go hiking. No. They were sharing, never mind. We expose his life, poor Greg. But he says, I want to go out to dinner and a movie with you on Saturday night. Would that work for you? What an invitation, right? Sweet. And then I want you to finish the Mitchell report. Wrong way. The right way. I want you to finish the Mitchell report and leave it on my desk by Thursday at 3. Clear directions. That's all you're asking. And lastly, I want you to help around the house. Or I want you to do the dishes and take out the garbage every night after dinner. So clear. So clear. No assumptions. No, how dare they didn't help more by taking the trash out. Who knew? So you want to invite yourself to really investigate. How am I asking? And what do some of my questions, what are they stirring from? What is inside of me that has not been an accurate, clear way of working with those that I love and getting what I want? And this idea, they go further, talking about asking your unconscious. It's so challenging because it's unconscious and we don't know it. It's like the shadow, trying to turn around and face a shadow. I can't. Oh, there it is. I'm spooked, I didn't have one. I am enlightened. So listen to this. The primary success that I have found in asking questions of myself, I go through some serious personal problems about 12 years ago and began out of frustration because nothing was working for me. I'd read something about building a relationship with my inner self. That's what the invitation is. With my inner mind. I knew nothing about that and thought it was a little kooky. But since nothing else was working, I decided to start it. I began getting some success from that. I decided to quit drinking after 25 years. Using this process of asking my inner self, I was able to stop drinking all by myself, alone and unsupported, without any outside resource. That was a very big success that rooted me in the process. So he asks himself to sort out the questions regarding solving problems that he was having. He gets involved to asking, what is it that I want to do in the world? I asked questions on my spiritual life. I got closer and closer to the deep answers. I began to deeply reflect, who am I and why am I here? And I began asking, what would it take for me to be successful and develop a good spiritual journey? And I've discovered the most effective were those questions that were neutral and non-judgmental. When I do not pretend that I already know the answer or imply that the answer is in the question. One of the responses that I got in the process of developing a spiritual journey was to come to the conclusion that I needed to do something of a more giving nature, cooperating with the universe and how it operates, rather than working as an independent entity. So here he moves into, when you start to invite the questions, partner up with God, right? Or partner up with your soul, spirit, whatever, nature, whatever that is for you. Partner up with that and rely on that for your answers. And there's moments when you do receive the answer and you're getting the nudge, but you don't listen to it. He shares a story about asking for a higher power. And I particularly appreciated this gentleman's story about being on a backpacking trip in the Trinity Alps, and he learned a major understanding about asking. They were leading 10 teenage boys and girls through the wilderness for 2 weeks. On the 7th night, they were camped in rugged mountains in unfamiliar territory. We had not seen anyone for days. As we slept, a freak summer blizzard unleashed 2 feet of snow on us. We huddled together through the night to stay warm, and as the sun rose, the storm was so intense that we could not see 2 feet in front of us. All the trails had disappeared. We could not see any of the surrounding mountains or read our maps. We had little food because we were due to hike to the food drop that very day, so I was scared. Can you imagine being responsible for the teens? So no, I was quietly terrified. I felt responsible for everyone's safety. If this blizzard continued, our already wet clothes and sleeping bags would no longer keep us warm. We would suffer from hypothermia and lose some toes and fingers and freeze to death. And I remember the nearby location of a mountain peak we had seen the day before. So I left Maryland with the kids and struggled through the ferocious blizzard, which had dumped over 3 feet of snow by now. Breathless and frozen, I finally arrived at the peak, but I could not see enough to get my bearings, and I pictured those frightened children relying upon me. My terror intensified, and finally, in desperation, I fell to my knees and I prayed. I begged God to please lift the storm just enough for me to see the path down the mountain. And in that moment, I fully believed that the clouds would magically disappear. And after a few moments, nothing happened. I began sobbing as I pictured the newspaper headlines detailing our death. I pleaded with God, but still nothing happened. Finally, I decided to return to the others and plan a new strategy. As I was walking down the peak, I found my feet involuntarily moving in another direction. It was strange. I felt like I was being led for no apparent reason to the back side of the mountain. As I came closer to the corner, I looked below me and saw the faintest evidence of the trail. I shouted with glee and rushed back to the others with the life-saving news. Isn't that powerful? So we ask, but we're asking with a little bit of our agenda. It's going to look this way. When I fall to my knees and I ask the Lord for guidance, no, it comes in a still, small voice that encourages you to say yes, to move forward, to write a song about Waldo. It's in those magical ways that we lean into each other and we take the leap and we support each other. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. So begin to, in your prayers, in your treatment, expect to get your answer. Be positive in your expectations. Ask from your heart. You can use humor to be creative. You can give in at times in order to get, but keep asking. Keep asking. Keep asking. We're invited to be in a process of tapping into our unconscious. We're being asked to step into guidance because we're not alone here. We've got each other. Each other has wisdom as well. We have opportunity to forgive our unskillful ways and to move on. Ernest Holmes, he says with great power, the answer to our needs lies not in God's willingness, but in our will to accept in our ability through faith, to recognize the divine presence as the great reality of life. The power of God within us is like the sleeping giant which must be awakened that it may spring into action. Let go and be one with the divine will. It is said, it takes those 17 precious seconds to make a difference, to make an imprint in your mind. So let those 17 seconds be filled with positivity, Let them be filled with love and truth and principle. Principle are the absolute truths that lie in every faith path. We don't own them here. We just understand them here from a place of deep reverence for all the ways they were brought to our heart space. So let the law work through you. Don't stand still. God works through us as we align our will. Thy will be done. Join with me in a prayer that takes you on that journey of 1,000 miles, but you're taking the first step. In Creative Ideas, Ernest Holmes speaks these truths. I recognize my divinity, and I ask you to recognize yours, floating on the subconscious, the unconscious world with which you have a part of. The Spirit of God dwells within you in that secret place that only you know the voice of. Each person, these are his words, is a spirit, but we seldom recognize the greatest. This is the greatest of all truths about ourselves. Seldom do we consciously invite communion with the Spirit or open all the doorways of our thought in complete awareness. In complete awareness, do we open up? No. We let ourselves be fed with doubt and no more. No more. The Bible tells us that the mind be in us which was in Jesus, which is, of course, the mind of God, the invisible guest in every person. There is always, always this availability within us that we can use for wise counsel. It can lead us. It can direct our thoughts and actions in harmony, peace, and cooperation. So here is his prayer from his heart to yours. I know there is a presence that came with me when I entered this life. And I know that this same presence will go with me when I leave this physical form, for it is the presence of eternal life, the life that cannot die. And because God cannot fail, and because the divine presence within me is God as my real self, I know that there is a power flowing through my word of faith that makes straight the way before me. There is a power flowing through my word of faith that makes my way straight. I have no fear of the past. I have no fear of the present. I fear not the future. Today I'm living the knowledge that God is over all and through all. I feel this presence as perfection, love, and goodness, making my life whole and complete. There is only one. And as we sit here, each one of us, individualized conduits of that great truth, of that grace, of that love, it is our guiding factor in all that we do. So we move forward from this sanctuary today, watching every step, moved with the power and the action of God and love and power and friendship, walking with us as we make a difference in our world. So I give thanks above all for this teaching, for this fellowship, for all of you that I can lean into. When I feel I'm going to collapse, I know no more. My faith is now, and I stand in that power, and I see that power in each one of you. And I give thanks for that right here and now. And together we say loudly and proudly, and so it is.